So let me outline the fundamentals of Google Books. Google gets a lot of physical books. They go to a place with physical books. They use their very sophisticated, intense scanner to quickly scan those books, turn the text of the book, turn the pictures of the text of the book into words so that they have all the words of the book. And now they have a complete library. So Google's gone out to various really huge libraries and has scanned all of these books. That's Google Books. Google Books destined, Google hopes, to have all the books ever created in their library so that it's the giant library of books, the giant electronic library of books. That's the basic idea of Google Books. So I think the best way to get you into the issues, I give you the idea of Google Books, but the best way to get you into the issues of Google Books is to actually do a little bit of a debate with myself, to say the pros and cons. So I'll start with a con and then I'll counter it with the pro, and I'll try to be as reasonable about the pros and the cons and not take a side, because once again, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it. I'm not sure whether Google Books is a good thing or a bad thing. So I'll let you decide, but I'll outline some of the issues. All right. So Google Books may be copyright infringement. It may be, that Google is stealing from all of these authors. There's arguments that they are stealing from all of these authors. And that's the con argument. So, why should Google be the one who owns all of these books? They really should belong to the original authors or the descendants of the authors or something like that. The pro argument is, well, you know what? Copyright is done, and that's really, I do believe this, that copyright is way out of date. The idea of copyright, you know what that means? Copyright, the right to copy. You know how many copies there are of everything just floating around the web? I mean, there's copies of stuff all over the place. The right to copy is like, it's not even the right concept, so we are so out to lunch on the idea of copyright anyway that who knows whether it's infringement or not. Okay, the pro argument is they're stealing from these people based on our ideas of copyright. The con argument is they're stealing from people based on our ideas of copyright. The pro argument is, what ideas of copyright? The whole notion of copyright is out the window, and we have to refigure it anyway. All right, Google could track what you read. That's a con argument. Why give Google these books? They could track what you read. And that's not a good thing. Google's going to know what you're reading. We don't want Google looking over our shoulder knowing that I read this book or that book. And the pro argument there is, well, anybody that does this can do the same thing. That's not an argument for whether Google should have it or not. That's an argument for whether it should be done, whether we should allow books to be read online. If we can have books read online, then people can track what you're reading. That's just how it is. So it's not about Google, the pro argument says. It's really about our regulations of what you're allowed to do when someone's reading something online. Are you allowed to track them or aren't you allowed to track them? If you don't like that, pass a law against it. But it doesn't have anything to do with Google Books. It has to do with the scanning of them. Okay, con argument, we don't want them tracking. We don't want Google knowing what we read. Pro argument is, well, get used to it. Everybody knows what you read. Okay, next argument, Google will use this to target ads. Right? That's what Google's about. You know that. You know that from this class. Google's all about more information about you in order to target ads. And they will do that. There's no doubt about it. That's what they want to do. That's the value to them. And the pro argument is, maybe a targeted ad is a good ad. Maybe I want them to target ads. Maybe I'm happy that they're targeting ads because I'm sick of getting all these ads that have nothing to do with me. And the more they know about me, the better the ad's going to be. And you remember we talked about this moment of, what do we call it? The moment of opportunity or something like that. I forget what the actual term was. Where you want something. And if somebody's presenting it to you at that moment, that's a good thing. Okay, so those are the pros and the cons. Google will make more money on this than the authors make. Probably true. I can imagine that that's true, that Google's going to make a lot of money on these books. And the pro argument there is, well, yeah, they're making a lot of money on it, but on the other hand, they're exposing you to authors you might not have ever seen before. This book used to be trapped in some library in some obscure place, and now it's online and anybody can get to it. So it may take some authors and make them way more famous than they would have been otherwise. That's also undoubtedly true. That's a complicated issue, right? There's no clear-cut answers here of whether Google owning all the world's books, or at least scanning all the world's books and making them available, is a good thing or a bad thing. There's a lot of complexity here, really a lot of complexity here. And we're so smack in this middle of this issue, which was never an issue at all before. Never an issue at all before. And now all of a sudden it's this huge issue with no solution. That's why I'm training you guys, to go out there and figure this stuff out. All right. Google could censor information. Google could not scan a book if it was anti-Google in some way, or it was against their political beliefs or something like that, right? Google is the owner of the information, and they could censor it. And that's the con argument. The pro argument is, well, that's why we have laws. right? That's why we create laws, to anti-censorship laws, to say it's not okay to censor stuff. So once again, the pro argument is, well, this isn't about Google. This is about being able to read stuff online and what is allowed to be online and what's not allowed to be online. And furthermore, if you think Google's got something that Google is censoring something, well, you put it on your site and have people come there. Right? Those are the pro arguments. Okay, what about the books that Google doesn't scan? They're not scanning everything, and for all intents and purposes, if Google doesn't scan it, it doesn't exist because everybody goes to Google, right? This is similar to the argument like, if Google doesn't index my page, it doesn't exist because no one's going to find my page except through Google. Same argument, right? And the pro argument there is, what about the books that the library doesn't stock? It's still better off than what we got now. So if I go to a library and it doesn't have this book, I'm out of luck, right? The same way as if I went to Google and it didn't have that book, I'm out of luck. So no different there. That's the pro argument. Libraries should be public. This is a really interesting one. I love this one. Libraries should be public, and Google's creating a library, and it's a private library. It's owned by Google, right? And so that's the pro argument. The con argument, so I don't like this because libraries should be public. And the con argument is, the pro argument is, why should libraries be public? They always have, that's a fact. But tell me exactly why they should be public. And maybe a private library is okay. Maybe a private library is going to be much more effective. I don't see any governments going out and doing this, right? Google's spending billions to make this happen. Yeah, maybe billions of dollars to make this happen. I don't see any governments going out and doing that. Meanwhile, libraries are getting defunded. So is it really true that libraries should be public? I have my opinions about that, but I'm not going to say them. I just want to give you both sides of the argument. All right. This could make Google a monopoly. This could make Google the monopoly, and they now own access to all books. And do we want Google to be our main, portal to all books? That sounds kind of scary. I don't know if I want that. That's the con argument. I don't trust Google to do that. And the pro argument was, got to trust somebody. Do you want all the world's books online, or don't you? And probably most people would say, oh, I guess I do want them online. That's really much safer. We have copies of them everywhere. We had this library one time in Alexandria. I don't know if you've ever heard about this. It was like the world's library burned down, all books gone, right? I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to lose copies of the books. So most people would probably agree, yeah, we want books online. We want them at least available online. If not, that's the main way we get to them. But it's going to be the main way you get to books online. You just know it. Even whether or not you print them out, that they're online, most people would agree is at least inevitable, if not, a good thing to do. And so the pro argument for Google Books is somebody's got to do it. Google's doing it. Google's putting the money in. They're investing in this. They're spending a whole lot of money to make it happen. So, all right, let it be Google, because it's not being anybody else, and Google's the one that's doing it. All right, so that's Google Books, and it's all about domination. Can you see? Can you see that it's a Google plan to dominate books, to be the one, to be under every book? So anytime you're dealing with books, you're dealing with Google, right? That's good for Google. That's totally good for Google. They're going to use it to forward their business model, specifically to figure out how to better target ads to you, right? Can you just see that? How you're reading through a Google book, and the things you're reading about, it even knows, like you dwelled on this page really long, and so something mustn't be really important on that page, and just really much more information about you. That's Google Books. In a microcosm, it's really about the issues of domination, but it's also about things that are brand new that we haven't figured out, that we're just so far from figuring it out that it's not even funny, and it's happening anyway. It's in Google's interest to push this forward before we figure it out, because that is going to be what's called a fait accompli. By the time we decide what to do about it, it's already going to be done. So it's like, well, Google's already got all the world's books, and I'm sure that conversation happened in Google. There was debate back and forth, and then somebody said, you know what? We just got to do this, because if we wait and debate it, somebody's going to put up a regulation. We're not going to be able to do it. And meanwhile, we should just do it, start doing with it, and by the time they get all the regulations in place, we'll be done, and we'll already be in there. And at the very least, we'll be a big player. If not, they'll just say, forget it, it's already done, You see how it works for Google? All right.